I will gavel us in. If anybody wants to thank me for moving this to 8 o'clock. One thing I accomplished, thank you very much. All right, so we're gonna call it to order. We'll start off with any conflicts of interest. Linda, I know you have yours, childcare, Irving ISD, Dallas ISD. Okay, it's nice to not be conflicted. So noted. I believe, Tori from Child Care Group, has some public comments, so please address us. Tori.
Thank you. Good morning, Workforce Board members. It's a pleasure to be with you. I just wanted to take a moment for a quick update from Child Care Group and our work. A few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to tour Dallas City Council member Jaime Resendez through one of the Texas Rising Star 4-star providers in his district. We were able to share with him the number of quality rated providers in his district, the number of children served, and the workforce dollars that have been allocated to support childcare programs in his district, as well as the quality initiative dollars that have gone into helping support those programs. It was such a successful meeting that has resulted in additional alignment between his office and that location, which is going to be hosting a future town hall for him. And it really gave us the impetus to start doing more of these tours. And I wanted to let this board know, because I know that you have recently had a new board orientation at one of the workforce centers. And I wanted to reach out and offer the opportunity for new and returning board members to have the opportunity to join us on a future tour so that you can see and hear from the child care providers in our community who are receiving the workforce dollars and benefiting from your support and from the work that we and our mentors are doing to help lift up quality throughout the community. And you know, this work is very hard. We serve 15,000 plus children, almost 16,000 children every day in Dallas County, and support their parents so that they can go to work or school. It is not often that we do get thanked, and perhaps the board doesn't get thanked, but a handwritten note came into us recently that really was moving to our staff and to all of us at Child Care Group, coming from an unexpected place. One of the clients that we have served is connected with an initiative in Dallas called the Ladder Project, which is founded by former Mayor Laura Miller. And she reached out with a personal note to one of our staff members that was so moving and so gratifying. And she has asked to come today to express her thanks to this board. So, thank you.
All right, Mayor Miller.
Good morning, thank you for having me. As Tori said, I founded something 5 years ago at my synagogue congregation, Sharif Israel. I went to my rabbis and I said, can we, since there are as many homeless people on the streets today as there were when I was mayor and our council built the bridge, can we do a pilot program and take one person off the streets and out of the shelters, get them a job, get them housing, furnish the apartment, clear their debts, and launch them on their way to self-sufficiency. And our only eligibility requirements were you have to work full-time and you can't lie to us. So we created this project, and 36 men, women, and children later, we keep doing it because it's very, very meaningful. There is one type of homeless person that we can't help without you, and that's why I want to come and talk to you. And as Ms. Acuna and Ms. Hughes both know very well, that is the single mom. We are very good at taking people, single men, couples with children, but the single mom with children cannot survive, cannot be self-sufficient in our city without childcare subsidies, without you. And I'll give you the best example that I have. Christmas week, we got a call from the stew pot, and they said, we have a 42-year-old mom with 3 kids, 14, 5, and 3. And she is living in the doorways of Booker T. Washington High School, out of the video camera so people don't see her at night, and that's where she and her children are living. She went to Family Gateway, but Family Gateway is full and has a waiting list, and it's time for that family to move on for the next family. They're going back to the high school and we do something. In 23 days, we got her a full-time $16 an hour job at the Legacy Communities, which is a senior living community in North Dallas. $16 an hour with health insurance and benefits. We got the two older kids enrolled in school. We got a 2-bedroom apartment. We totally furnished it and equipped it. By the time that she started work, every single thing in her life was in place to be self-sufficient except childcare. And we were stuck because the childcare that was near her house was $1,640 a month for the 5-year-old to go after school and the 3-year-old to go all day. And that was $400 a month more than her rent. So it was impossible for her to be self-sufficient. And in our program, you have to become self-sufficient. So I called childcare group because I had met Dana Williams with another client. Dana Williams is a caseworker for 28 years. And within a few days, she had arranged free childcare through the childcare group with the daycare center that was 1 mile from this woman's apartment on the DART line that she has to use to get the kids to school, to get the kids to daycare, to go to work. So I am here to thank you on her behalf, because without you and without what you do, all of these women who are making decent money at $16 an hour would not be able to live on their own without your subsidy. So thank you. I'm here just to say thank you on her behalf.
Thank you, Mayor Miller. You know, we as a board vote on a lot of things and we pass a lot of money through the system. But it's not about that. It's about the real stories that you bring, about really changing lives. And that's what we're here. I like to say we're in the barrier busting business. And we try to remove all the barriers to get people employed. And that's what this board does. So thank you very much for coming. If you look at your package, there's a beautiful picture on the front of it. And the reason that this is a beautiful picture, this is the National Association of Workforce Boards. There are over 500 boards in the country, and there are 28 boards in Texas. They give out 5 awards a year, 5. Last year, this board received a national recognition from the NAWB Association for our joint efforts and work with Dallas College. This year, once again, we received another award, a national recognized award, 1 of 5, for our work with the Dallas Regional Chamber. So as your chair, when I worked with Ashley in about a year and a half ago, I said, Ashley, we need to win some awards. Well, she's brought 2 home, so applause to Ashley. I think I said we need some hardware, but we have done that. And so it's a high honor to have that. It's not just a picture, it's a recognition of the hard work this group does every day. My comments are centered around what we've accomplished in the last 18 months. And I think there's so many new faces, it would be, I should do that. So last year we embarked on a monumental journey to redevelop this board. And we've made some significant changes. One, we appointed Ashley as our interim president. And Ashley and her staff has done an enormous, phenomenal job. So I want to recognize them for the great work that they've done in the last 18 months. 18 months ago, we had no committees. We had one, the finance committee. We've started 4 other ones because with a 29-member board, the word herding cats comes to mind. So in order to get things done, we started these committees. And I'm very proud of the work that's done in Dan's group, with actually putting forth a strategic plan for this group. So we'll hear about that later. He'll report on the status of that. So thank you, Dan, for your work on strategic planning. Joanne Caruso started our governance committee and dug into our governance model that hadn't been touched since 1980. Something or another. So we will come out with a revised governance policy for this group, strategic policy, strategic planning and governance. Rebecca Acuna started our outreach committee to look at results in our workforce centers. And she has dug in deep, and that committee is at work looking at how we improve our customer journey for our clients. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing on that committee. And then we've just started a new Child Care Advisory Council. Mr. Cohen is overseeing that. So one other thing I want to recognize is communication. One thing that was lacking, we were called the best kept secret in Dallas County. Workforce should not be a well-kept secret. We should be telling our story and promoting our work and communicating. And so I encourage Ashley and staff to hire a communications firm, and they've done that. And I don't know about you, but my LinkedIn is worn out from workforce stories. And so I want to thank you for listening and doing that and getting the word out of the great work that's done, and not only with Workforce Solutions, but with our partners at Equus and Child Care Group. The last thing I would close with on my comments is staff. It's been a transitional year. It was very important for this organization to stabilize the group, to begin to build the group, and to continue to move forward, and they've done that. So I'm highly proud of the work that's done by the staff, day in and day out. We've traveled to Washington. You get to know people when you travel with them. And I can tell you that you have a highly performing staff in this group. So hats off to you, and thank you for your flexibility and working with us. So speaking of hardware, we wanted to recognize the Dallas Regional Chamber, and Elizabeth Claudel McClay is here. And so would you come join us, Elizabeth? We want to present them with the plaque that we received as well at the National Association of Workforce from Dallas Regional Chamber. So why don't you come around this way and we'll photo. Bill.
Yeah, get the DRC branding.
Really, when you think about workforce, it's really about economic development too. And so that's what the Dallas Regional Chamber is charged with doing here in Dallas. So it's only natural that we coexist and work together to bring jobs and job seekers and job employers together. So thank you, Elizabeth, for coming and for the hard work done at the Dallas Regional Chamber. All right, we will move through our agenda now. If you could look at page 9, which we have a consent agenda covering 3 matters. The minutes, some policy, and some external grants. Ashley, would you walk us through that?
Sure. So, like we mentioned, minutes from our February board meeting are presented first. Of course, if you all have read these over and have any questions, feel free to, speak up and we can get it in the record. And then on page 12, we certainly have a lot of policy, presented, and we've highlighted a lot of these because they stem from a change in one of the Texas Workforce Commission's databases that now we're flowing through, or TWC rather, is flowing through to these local policy changes that we need to adopt. So that's really where a lot of these stem from, and they get a lot longer list than in previous months. And finally, on page 14, we've listed endorsements of external applications and agreements, like you've seen in previous months. But certainly, if you have any questions, I'm happy to dive into those.
All right. Any questions?
One quick question on the 2024 annual budget. There's a reference in the minutes to Mr. Solis making a motion to accept that, but it was with the exception of the additional staffing. Will we be talking about that today?
We're going to talk about that in closed session. Great question.
Thank you.
Any other matters regarding the consent agenda? Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
All right, Ken. I get a second for that.
Second.
All right, Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? All right, we have passed the consent agenda. Thank you. And by the way, thanks for everyone coming at 8 o'clock. I mean, we really had a full forum at 8, so I appreciate your efforts to get here at that time. All right, audience, sorry, we're gonna have to go into closed session. We have some matters regarding personnel. And so we will move into a closed session at this point. We'll ask you to come back. We'll come get you, where they're supposed to go.
Meetings in the morning,
I'm sorry.
just for the students.
Okay, so y'all go down the other end, eat, have fun. We're in closed.
A Long Island, kind of, yeah.
Okay, welcome our guests back in. We're back in open session. At this point, I'll entertain a motion regarding our closed session.
So I'll make a motion, that we approve the budget as discussed in closed session.
I second.
Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. For those in the audience, thank you for your patience while we move through that. All right, we'll now move to some exciting stuff that's going on in our committees. First up is our strategic planning committee. Dan, would you cover that?
Yes, the committee met, on April 9th, and we did that by Microsoft Teams. There's a written summary of the meeting that is available, but it's not in the packet, I can see it. We can circulate that to everyone. The charge of the committee is to recommend a facilitator, to help write the strategic plan and to propose a timeline for the strategic plan. So the strategic plan will actually be written by the entire board, in conjunction with the facilitator.
Thank you. On April 2nd, we released the procurement for strategic planning services. And thank you, Connie, for your help on that. And there's a link to that on the website that you can look at. We also sent the RFP to a number of interested parties, all the parties that were suggested by members of this board, as well as to the National Association of Workforce Boards. It's on the TWC website. It's on our own website, obviously. We sent it to NCT Strategic Planning Consultant, which is Tip Strategies. We sent it to the Gulf Coast Strategic Planning Consultant, which is Outreach Strategist. And those latter two were recommended by the other WFS boards, Gulf Coast and North Central Texas. We sent it to Boston Consulting Group, and we got a couple of suggestions to send it to them, one from Miguel and one from Susan Mom. We sent it to BM Consulting, sent it to On Strategy HQ, and Balanced Communications. We can send it to anybody that anybody on this board wants us to send it to. There are some restrictions on what board members can talk about with respect to the RFP. Basically, you can't talk about it. You can, everybody just reads all board officers, all board directors, officers, and staff of the board are precluded from entertaining questions concerning the proposal for this procurement process outside the confines of formal question and answers process. So if anybody has questions about the RFP, they have to go through the RFP process. We then talked about, let me say, in the RFP, you'll notice that bonus points may be awarded for any work conducted pro bono. And we do know that among others, Boston Consulting has done pro bono work for the Greater Dallas Chambers, and I believe for United Way as well. So, but that's what we have in there about pro bono work. Everyone agreed to be flexible with our timeline, so that in particular, to the extent possible, we'd really like to have the new president and CEO participate in the development. But we also have to get a facilitator on board, and we have to get a facilitator up to speed on all the information about the organization and to do the outreach necessary to get started. So this is somewhat of an aggressive timeline, and I say it's aggressive if you've only been in private business. You've been in where things move very quickly. If you're involved in a public process like the one we're involved in, it's gonna be a lot slower than what you're used to in private industry. But we released the RFP on April 2nd. The proposals are due on May 2nd. We've allowed ourselves from May 3rd to June 14th to review the proposal and schedule interviews. And this is an optimistic time frame, but we want to bring a recommendation to the board of directors at the June 26th meeting. If we're able to do that, the contract would begin on June 27th, and then we have a number of meetings and get data dumps to get the consultant up to speed. We hope to have the draft report by the winter of 2024, draft report and revisions by the spring of 25, and then the final report in the spring of 2025. Again, everybody agreed to be very flexible. We do know how important it is to have the CEO involved, but we also know it's important that we get some of this background grunt work done so that we can be in a position to work with the new CEO and develop a plan. We had 4 new members on the committee. I did go to 2 of the orientations at Dupree. Thanks for making that suggestion. At one of the previous meetings, that's been really helpful, even if you're an experienced board member, to kind of get the big picture as presented by staff, either as a refresher or as a new board member. It'll give you some sense of what you have to do with the strategic plan, where we are right now, because our month-by-month basis, we're in the weeds on a lot of things. And I think a lot of good questions came out of those orientation meetings. So with that, let me just make sure that I thank Ashley, Connie Rash, and Lynn Hoffman for their invaluable support. Now, entertain questions at this point.
I just want to clarify one thing, Dan, that it's not the intent of the committee to develop the strategic plan. That's done at the board. Right.
Yes. Yes, you put that in several emails, and we're not liking to speak. Well, it's kind of disappointing, but okay, I get it. I was just gonna hand you one next month.
Hey, don't get slow learner, I just like to.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, just 3 questions. Before I ask any of the questions, I am, it says fourth, not question, this is statement. I really appreciate you leading this process. It's more of a point of personal privilege. I've had the opportunity to work with trustee Mr. Dave for many years. And I've seen you in this element, and this is a huge responsibility. Leading the committee is a huge responsibility for the organization. So I'm excited.
There are $3 coming.
So the first question that I have is, what I don't know if I remember has been stated, but what I think I heard at some point in time over the past year. Do we have a current strategic plan? If we have a current strategic plan, when was it created and or when has it been?
Yeah, and as I mentioned to you, we asked staff last year to pull the strategic plan history of the organization. And there's not a local strategic plan in place. I believe they found the last strategic plan to have been in the 2012 timeframe. So it's basically been just on the shelf. It hasn't been followed. That being said, not all WFS boards have local plans. In fact, in my attempt to just kind of survey this by just doing searches, there are not very many of them have local strategic plans, because the state strategic plan and the operational plans that the very detailed operational plans that the local WFS boards have to do to fit in with the state plan are so detailed. So it's not unusual to not have a strategic plan in place. We should have one in place. And in looking at the various boards that do have local strategic plans in place, Gulf Coast seems to have a pretty good one. And so does our sister organization, you described, Ashley. the North Texas workforce, boards. And the facilitators or consultants who work with those two boards are on the list that I read.
So the second question is, we're about to do a duo or something, a duet. My second question is,
You want to do backing vocals?
so. I looked over the article, I literally just looked at the article, it's the first time I've had the opportunity to look at it. One of the things I'm thinking about, I know it's a 3-year chart, I think that you give into whatever they do, so like, will you all be going through the process of vetting the organizations and then come to the board for us to take a vote based on the recommendation, or would it be the board as a whole? What's the selection process going to look like? And I'm asking for a specific reason.
Well, I think we will bring a recommendation to the board.
Got it. So when I look over the RFP and I think about the things that I think you all want in whatever the entity is, usually, and there's a thing that I feel like hopefully we don't miss the opportunity, and that is, it is a really dynamic environment outside of just workforce solutions when it comes to workforce. And so some sort of a landscape analysis that gives us a sense of our current place within that dynamic versus what our place after a strategy is done might be something to sort of charge whomever with.
Yeah, and I think that's implicit in the RFP as it's written, but we don't have a problem in amending it to make that explicit.
Final question is, there is a wide range, I would imagine, of cost for all of these entities. What I also feel like I've never had an answer to, and it's perhaps because I've never been supposed to ask the question. What is the budget that we are allocating to this process?
Well, I think we reserved in the budget, $250,000, maybe more, maybe less. We asked the companies that is to give us estimates.
So, sorry to say that, I think it's not lost on any of us, but just for the public record, this is a massive opportunity to set the direction for this organization. Coinciding with the selection of a CEO, you should not miss this opportunity. Again, thank you for your leadership on it. This is a major decision.
Ashley, could you weigh in on question 2?
Yeah, so to clarify, we'll have readers on board staff go through the proposals that we receive. And then, once those are vetted, that will go to the committee. The committee will be involved in the interview process. And then we'll bring it to the board for final approval, of course.
So on that last point on this being a massive opportunity, and it will connect likely to Rebecca's report for outreach, we've been deep diving on a lot of the metrics, and I found myself a couple of times now asking about what the insights are from a lot of those metrics. And so if we really do this well, the strategic plan will they'll guide, right, the most important plans, direction for the organization, which will then highlight which of the metrics that we capture will rise to the top in terms of being the ones we need to be paying attention to. So the rest of it absolutely has to be covered, absolutely compliance reasons. We need to be monitoring them even if they don't rise to the top. But I think it starts to help the organization understand what we care about, because we'll know what we should care about as a board in terms of those metrics, because we just see a bunch of reports. We don't know where our eyes should go. And so it's really going to tie to that insight. And I think it'll get clearer with the strategic plan in place.
All right, trustee, thank you. I think the next one will be Joanne Caruso. We'll talk about our governance committee.
Thank you, Carter. So the governance, as I've reported in the past, the governance committee, has been meeting since August. And one of the first things that we determined is that we really should take a look at the bylaws of the organization. So we've had a number of meetings looking at the bylaws, getting comments from staff, from the committee. And with Reed's help, we are doing some red lines to the bylaws. We are working through that. It is actually a longer process, I think, than anybody had hoped, but we really want to be careful as we think about the governance and what the appropriate bylaw provisions are. At our last meeting, which was in the beginning of March, in connection with that, the committee thought that really as part of the governance and really going forward with the organization, as Carter mentioned, that we actually set up some standing committees. So the discussion was that there would be 5 standing committees that we would ultimately, all of this is subject to board approval, that we would come and make a recommendation. But the thought would be an executive committee, audit committee, child care, outreach, and governance. So in connection with that, we thought it was also very important that each committee have a charter. So in part of our work, we asked Reed to actually not only incorporate some of the comments with respect to the bylaws that they were discussing, but to also prepare these draft charters. So he has done that. They have now been circulated to the committee. We have 2 upcoming meetings on April 29th and May 16th. With respect to the charters, and we'll continue to go through the bylaws. With respect to the charters, my intent will be to send those to the committee chairs so that you can all work with their committees to actually determine, what really needs to go in the charter for your particular committee, since you are the best positioned to do that. So I will send those to each of the committee chairs after this meeting and this week. And then you can work with your committees and put in, suggested changes that you have. We will continue to work on the bylaws and certainly the charter of the governance committee and really continue to work through them. And then when all is said and done, we will come back to the board with our recommended changes both to the bylaws and then with committee charters. And this was the first item of business that the committee decided that we should really focus on, but, after the bylaws and the charters, and especially with respect to the governance committee charter, we will then have additional things that the committee will continue to work on. So it's really been great engagement, great discussion by the committee, and really want to thank all of the committee members for their engagement, because it really is it can be tedious, but it's really an important process. Thank you to Ashley and Connie and the staff as well for all of their help, and Reed, of course, as well, who keeps us compliant. Even though we keep pushing, so we'll get there. So thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
I know there's new members on this board that are sitting where I sat about 9 years ago and going, why? Well, the why is that document. So the answer is, let's really look at it. Let's really uncover the reasons. And let's function like a board should function. And so this is really a big step. I know strategic planning is, but governance is right there with it. So thank you for your work. All right, we'll move on to the next presentation regarding our outreach committee. And Ms. Acuna, would you lead us in that discussion?
Yes. First of all, thank you all to all the board members who joined the numerous outreach meetings, and we are getting, number one, the goal was to really do a deep dive into all of the services offered by this organization and figure out how to best pull this story of employers and employees. So charge 1 was for us to really understand as board members, all of those resources. We've been doing some deep dives, especially special thanks to the whole staff, and especially Stephen for all your help. A deep dive into all of the services offered by our workforce centers. Echoes have been on. We've gotten so much data on center visits, which you will see in your packets at the back. These are for January, February, and March. We've gotten data by zip code, age, ethnicity, everybody who goes in, a long list of services that are offered to employers and employees, we have then asked the staff, which they've done, to help us better promote this. There are a number of webinars scheduled for employers. Last one was April 10th, I believe. The next one is in June. The staff has also engaged in all-day messaging and revamping an all-day messaging meeting where we're testing messages that best resonate with our stakeholders. We've already gotten some things back, but they're refining those in the moment. And part of the next steps are also, the staff is forming industry-specific roundtables to ask specific industries what their needs are. So this would be manufacturing, healthcare, hospitality, to make sure that we're really meeting the top things from employers. If you've ever wanted more information, please join these. I think we're probably getting a lot. But you can join these, it's an open book from all of the entities involved. And again, our next steps, Diane talked about this, it's from all of the data that we're seeing and what are the best numbers to highlight and the best data that we can use to publicize the report. So thank you all for your participation.
All right, thank you again for the committee's work there. I think Alan is online, so Alan, are you there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me? And
Yes,
hey,
if you
I
can
haven't seen
speak
it.
up, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Okay. Hey, everybody. So we had our first childcare advisory council.
Hold on.
Alex?
There, Bob. I'm turning it up.
Oh, can you try again, Alan? We're turning it up.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We figured it out. We had our first childcare advisory council meeting a couple weeks ago. A few things that are the goals. First and foremost, oftentimes at the board table, we're asked to vote on significant amounts of money for childcare services. Some of those are things that really we don't have a whole lot of discretion on. They're just things that are sort of the pass through the system, but there are also significant dollars, particularly in the quality system, that we do have significant discretion on. And we often don't have enough time to really dive into those as a full board. So the goal of this is to have a space where staff can bring those voting items to a group that can hopefully come to this board with recommendations beforehand so that there's some confidence that things have been vetted and bring some focus into questions. We have no voting items on childcare at this board meeting, so that made it for a very easy childcare advisory council meeting. The other goal, very simply, very similar approach to how Rebecca is approaching her committee, is to really understand right now what are the various quality services that are being provided, what are the different services that are within our discretion being provided, and understanding like where the money is going, and just getting a really baseline diagnostic of what is happening today. Hopefully that will also be helpful for Dan and his committee and whoever is brought in to be a strategic facilitator to have a whole lot more data organized and ready to go on day one, since if we can expedite that process, hopefully as a full board, we can expedite some of the process of getting to the right insights and putting our thumb on the scale of strategy in a way that's helpful to kids and helpful to the workforce system. That's it. Thanks.
All right, any questions for Alan on childcare? If not, we'll go ahead and move. We're running short of time, which is okay because we really covered some meaty stuff here. So thank you for your involvement. Stay with me. We're going to move the agenda down to item 10, which is contracts and amendments. Our staff, Demetria Robinson, is going to report. So take it away.
Good morning. I'm on page 19. It's just a brief update on a project that we actually submitted to TWC for additional funding for a new project. Connie presented this, it was in the consent agenda last month. We actually were awarded one of 9 workforce boards out of the 28 that are receiving this funding. It's called the Texas Workforce Commission Partners for Reentry Opportunities and Workforce Development Cloud Grant Initiative. The goal of the Texas Cloud is to implement evidence-based dedicated services that will improve the outcomes for individuals currently in or recently released from the custody of the Seagerville Federal Prison located in Dallas County. The total funding for this project will be $2.6 million. Over the next 48 months, we will support the delivery of pre and post-release services to 150 participants, offering training and supportive reentry services, job placement services, and transitional services into the community after their release. We are in receipt of $545,500 of the $2.6 million. This grant will go through September 30, 2027. We will be seeking additional partners to collaborate with WFS Dallas and Equus Workforce Solutions through a procurement process. Recommendations will be brought back to the board for authorization for any contracts, agreements and or amendments that result from our procurement process. But this is a very new project. We're excited. We recently have submitted to TWC, Texas Workforce Commission, similar project, but specific to state and county. So it'll only be for state and county correctional institutions that we're seeking to also assist them in the same manner. So we'll be bringing information back to them. Hopefully we'll receive that. So we are still serving our general population, but also seeking to serve others to put them back in the community with sufficient employment. That's my update.
Do we have some representatives from Equus want to present next, or?
We do.
Hey, just for point of reference for those new ones, Equus runs our workforce centers. So when you go into one of our centers, you're seeing Equus.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for the opportunity to present this morning. Of course, I'm Tara, and I'm the project director for Equus Workforce Solutions. We definitely, as a company, wanted to provide you with some success stories, so you should have little postcards in front of you. Also, a pen that says we change lives. This is exactly what we do in the community. We don't do this without great partners. Just hearing the story from Mayor, former Mayor Miller, kind of brought some memories back to some of the stories that we've actually had to be delivered to us when we're trying to provide services. So we're looking forward to partnering, with her as well with the Ladder Project, because we realize that she needs some opportunities for employment for individuals so that they can financially support their families. All right, so I wanted to give you guys an idea of the Career Center visits. I don't know if I'm pretty.
That's what we're talking about. I didn't want
to the back. I want to mess something up either. Thanks. Okay. Sorry to go ahead to the very next slide. This is an idea of the Career Center visits, the number of individuals that have visited each of our 8 centers in totality from 2021 through our projection for 2023, 2024. This does not give an account for those individuals that we're starting from a virtual standpoint. These are actual physical visits from customers who come into our locations and need services. We'll go to the next slide. And then we kind of broke down in a pie chart the reasons for the visits. And of course, number 1 is for in-person services. So post-COVID, we've had this huge need for individuals to connect with us because they may not have the means to do so virtually. So this could be anything from intensive services, one-on-one job search preparation and assistance. This could be the intake, eligibility and assessment process, use of resources, because as each of you who visited any center knows, we have a resource room for all of those magical things to happen for us to help them to get prepped for their career pathway, overall meet their career. Basically kind of outlines the individuals that we served over a period of time from 2020 to current. It kind of breaks down what the characteristics look like. In one of the new board orientation meetings, we talked a lot about who do you serve, how do you serve, and how do you get them from point A to B. And because of the characteristic of the individual that we see on a day-to-day basis, before we can even get them halfway to where they need to go, we have to assess where they are and what their needs are. When we identify what those needs are, we have to satisfy those needs because we don't want anyone to fail. So when you come to our center, we want to get you connected to the services that you absolutely need in order to not only obtain employment, but to retain employment. Because we want for those successful outcomes, not just for us, but also for the individuals that we serve. So you can see how over time, the lack of work history is basically one of the #1 factors, along with high school dropouts. And we've seen an increase in limited English speaking individuals that come into our center, such that thanks to Rachel, I don't know if Rachel's here, she's connected us with the Northwest Community Center located in Victory Meadows. And we go there every Tuesday and we just completed our 5th week. And we started with 4 neighbors, that's what the customers are referred to as. And we've grown from 4 to 22. And so we'll continue to support the Northwest Community Center. And what we've learned is the main focus for all of the neighbors, because they're on this time limited benefits, just like most of the customers that we serve through the federal programs. For housing, after 6 months, they need to have a job and be able to financially support themselves. So we share hot jobs. We try our best to make sure that the jobs that we share with them are in the community because they have this huge barrier to the transportation for mass transit. And so our team is super excited and proud to be there on site, because to hear them say thank you multiple times is all that we need to know that we're being successful and to just keep this thing going. That's all that I have as a presentation, but if you have any questions specifically for me, I'm more than willing to address. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So, you mentioned about the deficiency in basic literacy. Do you also observe that, you also observe that, there's the same thing with digital literacy, as far as them understanding about, or having issues with learning how to operate anything from a computer and access a device situation?
Absolutely, that's a great question. And a lot of our areas, specifically the Crescent Grove area, we just started a basic computer literacy class, because the number of individuals that frequent our resource rooms, we literally have staff in the work, but we have to give them hands-on assistance because they really don't know what they don't know. So that is a huge barrier for a lot of individuals. And so we started, it's like a restart post-COVID, the classes yet again, and we started at Pleasant Grove, but that will be in all of our centers as well. We also partner with quite a few agencies that also offer basic computer literacy classes. So we're able to provide that to some of the customers that we serve.
Do they have to pick one category or people check multiple boxes?
I'm sorry, I better come closer because I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, do you have to pick one category or can people overlap on some of these categories?
Absolutely. People can overlap, so it's not just the one category. Sometimes people have like a lot of challenges, I like to call it, because those are things that you feel you can overcome. Barriers is such an old term, but a lot of people have a lot of challenges, and so they do overlap. Absolutely.
I've asked Ashley to send this presentation to the board, so you guys will have it. If you have more questions, you can circle those back to staff.
Thank you for the time.
Thanks for the time. All right, yeah, let's go. Connie, could you update us on procurement?
Yes, sir. Just really brief, thank you, trustee Chang, for your presentation on strategic planning procurement. We have another large procurement for management of childcare services. We released that April 4th, and it's due that May 2nd. So I'd like to also recognize Leslie Moore, our procurement manager, because this is a big task, and Demetria Robinson for your help with the childcare procurement. So we have a bidders conference coming up April 18th at 1 p.m. And that's the opportunity to answer any questions any potential bidders may have. Following that, all responses are due back May 2nd at noon. And we have issued a RFQ, which is a request for quotations for independent evaluators. This procurement will bring in outside experts to assist our staff in evaluating. So that's pretty much what I have for procurement. Childcare is a big one.
Thank you. Run, Richard, run.
And I will be brief. I know we're running a little low on time. On page 21, I will just touch on performance and then I'll go to the economic snapshot. We did get a updated performance report, which is called NPR, the monthly performance report from the state. And the measures that we're not doing well in were pretty much the same ones we went into great detail on that committee call last week. And Equus is working on solutions to improve those. One quick takeaway, a lot of the measures are really close to the meeting benchmark of 90%. So some of them are really close. And there always is a at a glance on page 23 that covers the performance for not just us, but all the other 27 workforce boards in the state. If anyone wanted to see how we were stacking up against our sister boards across the state of Texas. But before I jump into the economic snapshot, is there any questions? Okay, so economic snapshot is on page 25. Labor participation, it's still doing well. It's not as good as it was in 2023, but it is doing better than all the previous years. For February, going back to 2017, as far as job openings in WIT, there's not as many for the period of January for March as there was in the previous March years. But it's still a good number, and I would say the economy is doing strong. It's just not as strong as it was previously. And then just the last thing, and it's a little harder to read, but I did put some characteristics of UI claimants for just January, February, March, what occupation they came from when they filed for unemployment benefits. So the majority of them were in sales and office type jobs. However, production and transportation jobs were just right there with them. And there is slightly more females than males that file for unemployment. But I will leave it at that since we're short of time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Miguel. Requested some historical data, which is on pages 27 through 37.
Yes.
I don't think we'll have time to digest all of that today, but I asked for homework on that you go and look at those. And Richard, maybe you come back next time with us on some takeaways from what you found from doing that research.
Absolutely, or answer additional questions.
Is there any explanation been provided to you, Richard, relative to the labor force participation rates for February?
As far as wise, I think it has to do with, in my opinion, the opportunities for the jobs. There is a lot of occupations from entry level all the way up to management, type positions. That if somebody was looking for a job they could get into, they just have to have the right kind of skills, but that's just my takeaway from that.
Because the Fed looks at that number more closely than they do the unemployment rate. They
Yes.
say that's a better indicator.
Yeah, I agree.
Economic.
Right,
So,
well, if you take them both in tandem, I think that does give you a good picture of what the.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Rebecca?
Good morning, I'm Becky Minette, quality manager and EO officer for the board. I have a very brief update on page 38. For the fiscal and program monitoring conducted by our external monitor, Christine Lynn. Basically, there are 3 fiscal reviews that have now been completed, and we're just waiting on the final report to issue. And there are 2 new program reviews, one for Child Care Group and one for the Equus NCB program. That's about that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna cover one more topic. We started about 5 minutes late, we're about 3 minutes over, so I'm going to ask, Alicia to come up for our financial.
Good morning, Lisa Park, Controller, really quick, if you turn to page 15, that's the financials are presented. Not a lot of updates there, most money was obligated last month, the money is obligated this month. Just wanted to let you all know that end of April, early May, we will begin field work with Crow, our annual audit, we'll bring back, an update in May. Any questions?
Any financial questions? Thank you. Ashley, you have.
Yes, I have the honor of wrapping us up today. April is National Volunteer Month, so I just want to thank you all once again for your time and your talents. Thank you for being here. And our board staff, as you walked in, you may have seen pictures, our staff have had the opportunity to volunteer this month. We've been to the food pantry at City Square, so be sure and access that. I have one quick announcement for you. You see a little card in front of you. This is a save the date for the Texas Workforce Commission Annual Conference. And we're lucky it's in Grapevine this year. It's always the week after Thanksgiving, so it's December 4th through 6th. We'd love to have any board directors who would like to attend, go with us. You'll learn a lot about workforce, meet a lot of colleagues around the state. So if you would like to go, are they going to email you, Connie, or do you email Connie, and we can go ahead and get you registered and you can put that on your calendar. We wanted to give you plenty of notice.
All right, any other general business we need to discuss?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The kind of related to the orientation on page 23 and 4, as you're going through the stats, it'd be helpful for me to have a decode. I mean, I look at a lot of numbers and I just hard for me to discern what exactly we're looking to. So I don't know if there's maybe just a call we could have if anybody wanted to join in with me. I mean, great, but I just kind of, what are the key things we look at? Why do we look at those things? What is within the realm of reason? You know, those types of things would just give me context for those 4 or 5 pages that I look at every month.
Okay, so we'll pull together an opportunity for a call on that. Richard can lead us through that on the key performance indicators and why that's important to us and why it's compared to other boards in the state. I will close with the state believes that each workforce board is unique. And we have local authority because things are different here than Minden and here than Houston. But we should use them to compare. So while we're unique, we use those same measures in every location and they're tracked. But we are unique. Dallas is different. And so I think it's a valid question, and I think you'll get some clarity on what they're measuring and why they're measuring, if we're doing better, if we're doing worse, and why. Okay, well, hearing no other business, I'll adjourn us. Thank you so much for being here today.